From Jack the Ripper to John Wayne Gacy, murderers who seem to choose their victims at random both terrify and fascinate us.
Serial killer, including, I believe, Mr. Keyes, are not crazy. You cannot be that organized and deliberate and fit any legal definition of insanity.
Very organized. He definitely planned everything that he did.
It was the disappearance of an 18-year-old Alaskan girl that led police to unravel one such killer's astounding 11-year killing spree.
Israel Keyes wasn't an ordinary criminal. He was a serial killer who is presumed to have killed 11 people between 2001 and 2012. Unlike other killers, he didn't choose specific types of victims. Instead, he traveled around the country, choosing random people. He buried weapons and supplies in different places and funded his crimes by working as a contractor and robbing banks. But how did investigators finally piece together the evidence to catch Israel Keyes in 2012? Keyes was born in Cove, Utah on January the 7th, 1978. He was the second of 10 children. His parents, Heidi and John Jeffrey Keyes, didn't like government rules, public schools, or modern medicine. When Israel was 5 years old, his family moved from Utah to Colville, Washington. They lived in the woods far from other people and didn't have heat or electricity in their home. While they were in Washington, Israel's parents left their old church and joined a group called the Ark, which was a white supremacist church. In the late 1990s, the family moved again, this time to Mopen, Oregon. Israel said that while he was there, he hurt his first victim, but he didn't kill her. His family then moved one more time, this time to a place near an Amish community in Maine. When Keyes was young, he broke into neighbors' homes to steal guns. He loved hunting and hurting animals. These actions are usually linked to psychopathy. Later, while he was in jail, Keyes said that since he was 14, he knew he had different thoughts and feelings that seemed normal to him, but were strange to others. When Keyes was a teenager, he rejected his parents' faith and openly declared himself as an atheist. As a result, he was kicked out of the house, and his younger siblings were told never to talk to him again. On July the 9th, 1998, Keyes moved to New York and joined the U.S. Army. He became a specialist with the 5th Infantry Regiment and completed an intense Army Rangers training course. He was stationed at Fort Hood in Texas, Fort Lewis in Washington, and the Sinai in Egypt. Although no crimes were reported while he was in Egypt, he did tell another soldier that he wanted to kill him. While at Fort Lewis, Keyes mostly kept to himself and drank a lot on weekends. He was part of a mortar team and served with the 1st Battalion, 5th Infantry, as well as the 25th Infantry Division. His only legal trouble there was in February of 2001 when he got a DUI. Keyes earned an Army Achievement Medal for his work as a gunner and assistant gunner from December of 1998 to July of 2001. After his discharge, he moved to the Macaw Reservation in Nia Bay, Washington. In 2000, Keyes started a relationship with a woman on the Macaw Reservation, and their daughter was born the next year. After leaving the Army in July of 2001, Keyes moved in with the mother of his child. He worked for the Macaw Tribal Council in Nia Bay from 2001 to 2007. In 2007, Keyes moved to Alaska to live with a nurse he had been dating and brought his daughter with him. That same year, he started his own business, Keyes Construction, where he worked as a handyman, contractor, and construction worker. After his arrest, Keyes said he wanted to protect his daughter from his actions. He expressed that he wanted to have her to have a chance to grow up without the burden of his crimes hanging over her. On February the 1st, 2012, Keyes kidnapped 18-year-old barista Samantha Koenig from her coffee shop in Anchorage, Alaska. He stole her debit card and cell phone, sexually assaulted her, and killed her the next day. Keyes then hid her body in a shed while he went on a planned 2-week cruise in the Gulf of Mexico with his family. When Keyes returned from the trip, he put makeup on Koenig's face, sewed her eyes open with fishing line, and took a picture of her with a recent newspaper to make it look like she was still alive. He then used her phone to send texts, including a demand for a $30,000 ransom. Hoping she was still alive, her family put money into her account. Keyes then cut her body up and threw the pieces into a lake north of Anchorage. Her remains were found on the 2nd of April, 2012. Even though Koenig wasn't Keyes' first victim, his crimes against her led to his capture. Keyes is believed to have murdered 11 people, though only Samantha Koenig and 2 others have been identified. He also sexually assaulted a girl who was between 14 and 18 years of age. Keyes said his first planned attack happened in Oregon in 1997 or 98. He kidnapped a teenage girl and raped her, but let her go when she convinced him not to kill her. He later told investigators he wasn't violent enough and made up his mind he was never going to let that happen again. As a serial killer, Keyes chose victims who happened to cross his path instead of following a specific type. He often waited for people in parks, cemeteries, or campgrounds. He explained to law enforcement, well, there wasn't as much to choose from in those places. There were also no witnesses and no one else around. Keyes traveled to find victims. In June of 2011, he flew to Chicago and then drove to Essex, Vermont, where he killed Bill and Lorraine Currier. He chose them randomly because they had no children, no dog, and a house with an attached garage. He broke into their home, tied them up, and took them to an abandoned farmhouse. Keyes killed Bill first, then raped and murdered Lorraine. Israel Keyes said he took at least 5 more lives, but didn't give names. He claimed to have killed 4 people in Washington state, a couple between 2001 and 2005, and 2 separate people in 2005 and 2006. He also said he killed someone on the East Coast in 2009 and left the body in New York State. The FBI thinks this victim might be Deborah Feldman, who went missing from New Jersey in April of 2009. People think Keyes may have also been involved in other cases. One is Julie Harris, a girl who disappeared in Colville, Washington in 1996. Her prosthetic feet were found a month later, and her remains were found in 1997. Keyes was nearby when Harris went missing, but said he didn't do it. Keyes is also a suspect in the 2006 murders of Mary Cooper and her daughter Susanna Stoden, who were shot while hiking in Washington state. After he was caught, Keyes said he killed less than a dozen people. While in jail, he drew 12 skulls with his own blood, which might mean 11 victims and himself. In 2020, an FBI agent told 48 Hours that they believe Keyes had 11 victims in total. Keyes had planned to leave Alaska and travel to storm-hit areas to find new victims while working as a contractor. He had dreams of building a house to imprison his victims, like the serial killer H.H. Holmes. Israel Keyes planned his killings very carefully. He traveled all over the country to bury supplies for his murders, like guns, ammunition, and chemicals to destroy bodies. When he wanted to kill, he would dig up one of those hidden stashes. Keyes took many trips across the United States, giving him lots of chances to find victims. He also traveled to places like Canada, Mexico, and Belize, which might have been part of his killing spree. To avoid being tracked, Keyes paid in cash and took the battery out of his cell phone. He made money as a contractor and also robbed banks to pay for his travels. Authorities confirmed that he robbed banks in Tupper Lake, New York in April of 2009 and in Azle, Texas in February of 2012. Keyes studied FBI profilers and other serial killers like Ted Bundy. According to Maureen Callahan's 2019 book, American Predator, Keyes had a gastric band surgery and visited a plastic